Thank you for listening and supporting the Daily Memphian. Sign up for one of our many free newsletters and breaking news alerts at dailymemphian.com/email to receive the latest local news stories impacting our community. Our weekly newsletters cover everything from sports to arts and culture, business, food, and more, along with daily updates of all the news we publish each day. Sign up or manage your email preferences at dailymemphian.com/email.
I'm Bill Dries with the Daily Memphian, joined now by James Kirkwood, the chairman of the Memphis Civilian Law Enforcement Review Board, also known as CLERB. This is On the Record. We record Wednesday, February 15th, 2023. This interview is included in the Daily Memphian story on CLERB's status in the wake of Tyree Nichols' death. Chairman Kirkwood is also a former Memphis police colonel, and last week he was at Memphis City Council as part of a broader discussion about the future of CLERB and other police reforms, and also talked about the past of CLERB, which spans 30 years this year. That's when the city formed the review board, after Memphis police shot and killed Jesse Bogart in an incident in Orange Mound. Mr. Chairman, CLERB has struggled over those 30 years with the ability to do independent and timely investigations of such police incidents and other complaints of police misconduct. Do you believe that it's possible, given the legal limitations on CLERB and the protections for police officers being investigated through the city's personnel policies and memorandum of understanding with the Memphis Police Association?
Do I believe that CLERB could do an investigation?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I think it's as it stands today, CLERB is very, very limited in what it can do, which basically always comes down to we can only review cases of misconduct. I went to the city council to ask for more authority for CLERB so that we could, in light of everything that has happened down through the years, be allowed to be a strong, neutral party in the investigation of police misconduct, so that there can be a true, clear path to transparency for the public to be able to not only voice their complaint, all right, but have an independent party separate from internal affairs to investigate that complaint, and then review, give back to the police chief as well as the mayor our findings and our recommendations to what should be done to really handle this, but also to make that known to the public so that the public would always be abreast of what was going on with this police department. Mm-hmm. And so, I think it's a little ask. I don't think it's a big ask. I think that's just a little ask that they asked in 94. Then they came back in 2016 and made that ask again. And so now here we are in 2023 making that same ask. It's not, I don't see the struggle with allowing civilian oversight with a police department that the majority of the public embraces.
Mm-hmm. And you also talked about garrity statements by police officers. These are the statements that they make to police investigators when they're investigating such incidents. As things stand now, can CLERB have access to those, or does a CLERB investigation really rely on trying to get its own statements from the officers, which I think no attorney out there representing someone in a matter like this is going to advise their client to make two statements, right?
Right. CLERB, listen, if a matter is regarding police officers turns criminal, all right, CLERB cannot handle it, all right? Even in states, cities like Nashville, who has a strong civilian oversight, when the matter becomes criminal, they have to back away. All right, they have to come out of that. Detroit, same way. Everywhere you see where a matter may become criminal, it's hands off from civilian law enforcement review. The complaints we handle are always non-criminal. All right. So an officer talking to us is not putting his freedom on the line. All right. He is not in jeopardy of being incarcerated by a statement he may make. But we I think officers should be able to come to the civilian oversight and answer questions regarding their misconduct. All right. If they can go, if I can read his statement, because today I can read his statement within the file after the investigation has been completed. Now I can sit back. I get a copy of what the officer says. If I can get a copy of what the officer says, that officer should be able to come to me and answer a question. Right? If I can read his statement, the thing is, if I have a rebuttal question or if I have a question to, dig a little bit deeper in what the officer said, today I'm not able to do it. Right? And sometimes to really understand the investigation of what happened on the scene so that we can make a thorough recommendation to the chief of police, we are limited in that, all right? Because all we have to go by is the written statement that comes from internal affairs.
Right. Right. And in the case of Tyree Nichols, we should point out that this case was different from other cases in that there were criminal charges that were filed pretty quickly in this regard. Is the concern for the police officer, though, that any statement they give you could be used by the federal not by the federal, but by the criminal investigators in this?
It could be, all right. But here's again, the cases that we are listening to or hearing are never criminal. All right, they're always misconduct. We're never hearing cases of criminal. If someone came to CLERB and said, "I have a complaint, whereas I want to charge this officer for aggravated assault because he has beat me," all right, that's a criminal matter. He had no reason to beat me. That case wouldn't come to CLERB. CLERB would have to forward that case to the police department's not internal affairs, but the other unit that handles criminal matters. Security squad. That would have to go over to the security squad. Even internal affairs wouldn't handle that. That would go to a security squad for investigations.
The other question that has come up over several years, even when Ralph White was chairman of the body, was subpoena power. And the council has had varying legal opinions on this. Their attorney, Alan Wade, has said you absolutely cannot extend your subpoena power as a city council and give that to CLERB. Other people have said, well, it might be possible. What's your most current read on that, and how crucial is subpoena power for CLERB, whether it's direct or indirect?
Subpoena power today, CLERB does not have subpoena power. The city council has subpoena power, and the state legislation set it up whereas if CLERB wants to subpoena an officer, they have to go to the city council. And the city council will subpoena that officer, and the council will question that officer in regard to the matter that CLERB has brought before it. CLERB has a city council liaison on the board. All right, that person would go to the council and submit the proposal to subpoena this officer. If the council voted down, then that request is null and void. It has to take a majority of the council to vote to subpoena an officer, to vote in favor of it, for that officer to be brought before the council. All right, that's how it stands today. But in Nashville got around that with the chief of police and the mayor creating a memorandum of understanding to allow CLERB to their civilian oversight to question officers. All right. And so for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, Nashville has been doing independent investigations apart from internal affairs, and they have been questioning officers. At the end, I mean, it's done. People push against change when change really is not hurting anything. It's really making things better.
Mm-hmm. Has CLERB ever used the subpoena power through the council?
Once before I got on,
Okay.
CLERB initiated the subpoena power, but it did not go. It didn't. What I hear, when I read, it did not go before the council. Something happened with it. Whether I don't know what happened with it, but they did initiate the subpoena process.
Mm-hmm. And the council, it never got to a vote with the council.
It never got to a vote.
Right. So one of there are 6 ordinances total that the council is considering at this point. 2 of them deal with CLERB, and as I understand it, one of them would deal with the flow of information from the council to that. Do you think that the ordinances in their current form, they're almost certain to be amended before we get to third and final votes on them, but do you think as they stand now that they help CLERB?
They help. We could do a little bit more, but they help. All right, it's better than what it is now. They help. It is my hope. It is my hope that in 2023, that there will be bold action in regards to civilian law enforcement review boards, civilian oversight of the Memphis Police Department, because I see it as a benefit to our city. All right, to the citizens of our city, to the police officers who serve our city. I'm a firm believer that the majority of our police officers are very, very good and doing an awesome job. And they too have problems with individuals who, prey upon the public or misuse the public or mishandle their authority. They want something done about it. While many of them may not say anything, but I think, when I was an officer, I would always be in hope that the public would speak out, that the leaders would come around and make sure that we could rid ourselves from that negative culture that tends to hide and operate within police departments that will abuse citizens who have little voice. So I'm hoping that, the leaders today will take bold action in that step, in that, direction.
And I think the council surprised you because some of the council members said, look, we're coming up on budget season, and there might be some money here that the city could provide to CLERB to help with investigations and to help with the staffing. You've got, I think, 3 or 4 people on staff now.
3. We have 3. You had 2 and a part-time for quite some time, and then they made the part-time a full-time individual. But that has been the staffing of CLERB since 1994. The police department has increased staffing. Everybody has increased staffing. But when it comes to civilian oversight, it has not increased staffing, so that we would be all the things that I asked for. In order to do it, you're going to have to put qualified individuals in place to be able to conduct oversight, to review, to investigate, to audit, to even research. You need qualified individuals in place to do that work so that we can have a better police department, and that transparency can happen, and you can have, these good eyes watching what is done, so that the chief, even the chief of police will be aided in directing and changing the culture that we all know needs to take place within policing in our city.
Right. And you put an amount to get started. You said, well, $1.5 million would be a good start, and that's out of a budget that is total city operating budget that's over $700 million. And nobody heard that amount and said absolutely not. In fact, that they thought maybe it was a little bit low.
But I took that. I took that Nashville's budget. Now
Right.
they give more, but the annual fund is 1.5 and they have 14 people. I'm asking, and they get more than that 1.5 million, but I'm asking to stand up, I think about 10 people within the Civilian Law Enforcement Review Board so that we truly can be, Bill, I love Memphis, all right? And I truly, I'm a police officer. I love being a police officer. And I want our police department to be one that is recognized for having a real relationship with their community that's working in conjunction with community to create a safe environment, a safe city for people to come, work, live, and even visit our city. All right. Civilian oversight is, as I see it, is something that would truly be a blessing, all right, to the city for anyone who comes to be able to go somewhere. And if you have a complaint or a problem, to be able to go and your complaint be heard and rectified. All right. Even if it turns out that you had it wrong. All right. But your voice was heard. All right. Someone heard you. Okay. You could have gotten it wrong because dealing with police, mix-ups happen. But your voice was heard, and it was heard by someone who valued your voice. All right. Valued what you said and went to investigate to see, was this problem real? Was it true? Or exactly what? But then they can come back and sit you down, sit with you and talk about the findings. I think that would be just absolutely wonderful for our police department and beneficial.
And so many of the comments that the council and the county commission have heard and that have been part of the public debate whenever incidents like this come up are people who are genuinely angry and frustrated. And in a lot of cases, they're angry and frustrated because years ago, they had some kind of problem with the police and they feel like they didn't get the kind of hearing that you're talking about. Whether it was thrown out and they said, no, there's no merit to it, or what if we brought the officer in to apologize to you for this minor offense to it, or something like that. So it sounds like a simple step, but these incidents have a way of building up, right?
Yes. When things are left undone, all right, we continue to leave things undone. And, you get complaint after complaint after complaint. And then, no one has brought infractions, little things that's going on in the community to the forefront. No one is addressing it. And then we have a big explosion and people wondered, man, how did this happen? Well, it happened because you weren't taking care of those little bitty things, all right? Those little infractions that was taking place within police and community interactions was being ignored or being looked past, and it's not very much. It's okay, and then things continue to grow. So hopefully, going forward, we will be able to take advantage of the light that has been shined, revealing these problems within our police department, and put things in place to ensure that it don't happen again.
Mm-hmm. Does CLERB need to do its investigation before or as police are doing their investigation, or is the current requirement that CLERB gets a case after the police have reviewed it? Does that work?
CLERB gets a case after the police department has completed the investigation, after corrective action has been taken, after the complainant has been notified as to the findings of the case. So if the complainant is dissatisfied with what took place in the investigation and the outcomes, then that complainant can come to CLERB and register their complaint, and then we will review the complaint. All right, we reviewed the complaint, and if we find any problems with it, we make recommendations to the chief of police as to our findings. and we can, ask that this be done, that kind of thing. But it's always after. But I feel as though I think it would be good if CLERB can investigate along the process when the complaint comes in, that CLERB can then begin to investigate the matter before it is heard and corrected, before a hearing for any wrong or any misconduct or any policy violations is taking place, that CLERB can do its investigation and deliver its findings before that corrective action hearing takes place. A disciplinary hearing takes place. That's, I think that's the best way to do it. Therefore, the chief has everything first and foremost, and even the hearing officers has everything first and foremost, so that they can make a better decision on what the corrective action needs to be going forward.
Right, and you talked about this as being kind of a comparison between what police came up with and what CLERB came up with.
Yes. Because I'm not going to say internal affairs shouldn't do their investigation. All right, I'm saying no, you should do your investigation, but the police department should do. The Civilian Law Enforcement Review Board should be doing its investigation also. And at the end of those investigations, we should be able to sit down and have a discussion to see what did you find or what did you miss or how did we come out with this. And then we should submit, we should submit to the hearing officer, to the chief of police, to the hearing officer, what recommendations we think a corrective action should be centered around. All right, whether should it be additional training, whether suspension of days according to the matrix within the police department, what policies did we find that this individual violated, though the complainant may have came in complaining of this, but as we opened the investigation, we found that he also violated this policy, she violated that policy, so we can put it all before them, the hearing officer, so that they could have a better hearing, so that we can make the right corrective actions to the police officer in regard to this case. That's how you resolve issues in a solid way, right? In a well-rounded way that's beneficial to police and community. All right. Everything we're doing is about how do we benefit both parties, because we're not separate. All right, police and community can't be separate. We have to be together. In every situation, we find that we are together because when in this infraction, both parties are sitting here at odds with each other, because we are truly in a marriage where there is no divorce. Police and community. All right, you can't get away from each other. All right, so you have to figure out how to live together and walk together and have a harmonious relationship so that both of you thrive, all right, and succeed moving forward.
All right. A final point. You have talked with Police Chief C.J. Davis. I believe you told the council. Is there any movement that you see toward the kind of memorandum of understanding that Nashville has that allows their CLERB board to be able to work more effectively?
In my talking with Chief Davis, I have found that she is very, very understanding of how civilian oversight works. All right, she comes from Atlanta. She was in Durham, where they had oversight. And so she is very familiar with it. And when I make suggestions to her, such as audits, she is, yes, Kirkwood, I agree with that. You all can do that. But here's the deal. It's hard to do an audit if you don't have the people. All right, the staffing to do the audit. But she is absolutely, I think, in agreement that CLERB should do more, should be more involved. But when we go over here to the state, with this new bill being put forth, there's this bill that targets Memphis and Nashville to basically shut down what I'm asking for, what Nashville is doing. to bring us back to basically an organization that can only review and make a recommendation. While it will give you an opportunity to subpoena an officer, it's all after the fact. All right. It's after the hearing, after the corrective action is being done. And if that officer has been fired, it's after he has gone to the civil review board. If that officer is being sued, it's only after his the litigations process has been done. That's the only time that officer would be brought, or you could subpoena him for investigation or for questioning. Mm-hmm. And then it is written stating within the amendment that this amendment is really purposed on making sure that the rights of the police officer is protected. It does not think about the rights of the citizens who may have been violated or thought to have been violated. So it's a lot of work to be done, and you have to beg the question as to why the state senator would not want, so focused on the rights of police officers and not the rights of citizens. We should look at the rights of both of these individuals who are engaged in this conflict, so that we can resolve it in a good way, right, where everybody is benefited. Both organizations, community and police, is benefited for their good. And right is good for all of us. Mm-hmm. What is right, when it is done, it benefits everybody.
Right. And we should say that bill, which we will go into some detail on in the story that accompanies this link to this podcast, is still pending in Nashville. We of course have Ian Round, our Nashville correspondent, is on the ground there in the Capitol, and will be following this legislation as it makes its way through the committee system, and we'll see what happens with that as well. We have been talking with James Kirkwood, chairman of the city's Civilian Law Enforcement Review Board. I'm Bill Dries, and this has been On the Record.